conservative movement in a new way that follows on the Trump legacy and also adheres to what the conservative movement past calls for. So there's a moment for this great man to step in, and he's doing so right now. And it is my privilege to introduce to you Governor Ron DeSantis.
Great to see so many great patriots, and welcome to our little oasis of freedom. I don't know where you came in from, but it's probably not as nice as Florida. I want to recognize the great First Lady of the state of Florida. My wife Casey is here with us. So people will sometimes ask me, what have you learned since you've been governor? And I think that they expect me to say something to the effect of, well, in a crisis, you got to do this, or when you're dealing with the legislature. And actually, the first thing that comes to my mind that we've learned is, as parents of a 4-year-old daughter, 3-year-old son, and a 13-month-old daughter, we have learned that you can get finger paint off the wallpaper in the state dining room, and you can get slime off the carpet in the living room in the governor's mansion. So we figured that out, and we're rocking and rolling with 3 great kids. When I'm running around the state, people say, oh, maybe you get some rest this weekend. There's no rest on the weekends chasing our kids around, but we have a wonderful time doing it. You know, sometimes people will put some stuff out on the internet, kind of jokes, I guess they're called memes, and one of them is that the Realtor of the Year for Florida is the Governor of New York. The bad policies driving people away. But I just want you to know, for the record, I take exception to that, because if I had not won my race in 2018, which Susan B. Anthony must help, people in Florida would wish they had the governor of New York or California or Illinois, because we would be worse than all of those states. We would have been totally locked down. We would have had no kids in school. We'd probably have the highest unemployment in the country. And that was a 0.5 percentage point race from Florida now leading the country on so many things, to Florida being potentially at the bottom of states and actually having people flee Florida for even some of the lockdown states that we know now would probably be doing better than Florida was. So these elections have consequences, they really matter. But you know, throughout the whole last year, we were really motivated by not accepting narratives, not listening to the media, not worrying about what someone with a credential said. We were really looking at, what does the data tell us? What does the evidence tell us? And what do my people need in terms of support from me? And I think throughout the whole last year, we've seen governors lock people down. We've seen them keep kids out of school even to this day. We've seen, in some cases, a myopic focus on one virus to the exclusion of people's livelihoods, their jobs, their businesses, and the kids' education, and their mental health and quality of life. And so Florida, we understood that we had to deal with everything. And so it was very clear as we got into April of last year that we needed people to be able to work. We needed kids to be back in school, and we needed to focus our efforts on protecting our elderly population, but not locking down our healthy population. And so that's what we did. All the elites and the corporate media and everything all said, oh, it's going to be so bad, what are they doing? And you know, when you cut against the grain in this country, we have, unfortunately, a kind of an elite blob of opinion that is wrong on just about everything, but they're very loud, and they like to ding people when they step out of line. I was born to step out of line and challenge these people. So
yeah.
So we led, and the results are, as we look now, I mean, we did things like keep sick patients patients out of nursing homes, unlike some other states. We made sure our businesses were open. We were the first big state to have 100% of the parents have the right to send their kids to school in person at the very beginning of the school year, and we never looked back. And we were the first state to prioritize senior citizens for vaccination access. And the result has been, you have 27 states that have higher COVID per capita mortality than Florida. Our unemployment rate is about a third less than the national average, and I have one of my biggest industries mothballed by the CDC, the cruise lines. They won't let them sail. We're suing Biden to open that up, but even with that, we're still far outpacing the nation and way better than a lot of these lockdown states. And of course, we've had 100% of the parents have the ability to send their kids to school in person. Even to this day, there's only a handful of states that are at 100%. Because even in a red state, if you have a blue enclave, they will keep kids out of school or do that. We wouldn't let that. The teachers union sued me, and I said, make my day, and we beat them. You're not allowed to strike as a public employee in Florida. Our Constitution, it actually gives the right for government to have unions, unfortunately. So you have teachers union, is obviously the ones that were fighting to go in, but you are not allowed to strike as part of that union. So they had to make a decision like, okay, we've lost in court. Do we test this guy and actually try to strike? And I don't think they had to think very long to know that would not have turned out well for them. That would have been an opportunity that we would have relished and we would have acted very quickly. So we were able to do that. And then now, like my revenue, so they were projecting all this shortfall, all this other stuff. They keep revising it upward because I have people buying houses here left and right. I have people moving businesses here left and right. I have all kinds of stuff going on. So they revise the revenue every few months. And I knew we were going to be good last summer, but everyone was saying it was going to be bad. They revise it higher and higher. And these aren't like new taxes. This is just the economy performing. So they just revised it again 3 weeks ago. For April, May, June, which is the last 3 months of our fiscal year. And I got the numbers back for April. So just having revised this 3 weeks ago, revised it upward, economy's doing much better. The actual performance is close to $1 billion higher than what they just revised upward. And I think that you're going to continue to see that type of But I think what we saw throughout this with people that were advocating lockdowns and school closures was really a disregard for people's lives and livelihoods. And it's not lost on me that the same people who were the most vociferous supporters of locking down people, closing businesses, and keeping kids out of school just so happen to be the same type of people that oppose any effort to protect the lives of the unborn. I think you could see a very close correlation to that. And when we came governor, as Marjorie mentioned, I had the most liberal Supreme Court in the country that I inherited, a 4-3 majority, less than what we had previously, but a 4-3 majority. And they have jurisprudence on right to life, which would want you wishing you had Roe and Casey. It was so bad. And so that's what we inherited. And I was able to replace 3 liberal justices with 3 conservative justices within the first month of taking office. The appointments were so good, I like to tell people that President Trump took 2 of them at the end of my first year and put them on the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, which are doing a great job there, and that's now a very good court. So then I had to do another 2 justices, and so I've actually been able, in a little over 2 years in office, I've appointed 5 conservative justices to the Florida Supreme Court. So whereas the court in Florida used to be a place where pro-life legislation went to die, and you could even get it to pass muster under federal jurisprudence, but not the state of Florida, the times they are changing. And there's a new regime in town, in the court, and the judiciary in the state of Florida. We were able to do last session the first parental consent bill in Florida. That's now being winded through the court, but we're going to get a positive result on that. And so you start to move forward on the doctrine. Then we're going to come back and do more pro-life legislation, and we continue to see progress with the courts validating what we're doing. And so I think that there's a lot of momentum in the state of Florida for a lot of great stuff that we're doing. And I mean, I could tick off a lot of stuff. We did great election integrity bill this year. We did the first state to hold big tech accountable. You know, you look at like big tech, and I hear some people say, oh, yeah, they're private companies, you know, they can do what they want. Understand, what big tech is doing, they are enforcing an orthodoxy on this country. They're an arm of the Biden administration effectively. This is all the same perspective. Big tech, corporate media, the left, and now the administration. And so the idea that they should be able to silence us and that we're just supposed to sit and take it without fighting back, that's not acceptable here. So we're fighting back in the state of Florida. We're giving citizens the tools to be able to fight back if they're censored or if they're deplatformed. You know, the media talks about how we're protecting against them deplatforming candidates, and we are, but that's really a small portion of it. The biggest portion of it is any individual, if they unfairly deplatform you or censor you, you have the right to sue big tech in court. And so this is the first time anybody has tried to do this, and people say, oh, they're too big, they're too powerful. So, I mean, what are we supposed to do? Just do nothing? So I think you're going to see a lot of good stuff coming out of this, but understand, big tech, in terms of where they are part and parcel of the left in this country. They do not want to see pro-life anything out of Silicon Valley. I can tell you that right now. And isn't it so curious that the same people that always talk about trusting science, they rejected science on COVID when it was clear the lockdowns didn't work. And in fact, if you would try to put something on internet or YouTube or any of this, they would take it down. If you show how masking kids doesn't work, if you show how lockdowns don't work, if you show how these business restrictions haven't worked, they took down one of my videos with people from Oxford and Stanford. And so they don't follow science, they simply try to find credentialed people that will support their preconceived political narratives. But I think you see the same thing on the life issue. If they honestly trusted science, they would be standing right beside all of us supporting life, because the science is incontrovertible. The science is better today for life than it was 50 years ago. And all the time with technology, we see that over and over again. But they don't follow the science there. They simply reject the science outright, because ultimately for the left, it's about their preordained narratives, and whatever is inconsistent with those narratives, they will ignore or they will try to suppress.
Amen.
And that's my final point, is just simply this. There's no substitute for where we find ourselves than people in this arena that are willing to fight, that are willing to stand, and that are willing to take on the left and all their friends head on. Now, I've done a lot in Florida to be able to work with a bunch of people. We've done a lot of stuff where I have Democrats supporting me. I have Democrat voters that I'm friends with. I have people that will vote for me who are Democrats. But let's just understand, that's all well and good, and if you can do that, you can. But the hardcore left, the progressives, the people that reject all conservative principles and indeed want to write us out of society, you can't work with them. You got to defeat them. And that's our job.
Yeah.
Woo! So when we're doing pro-life, when we're putting conservative justices on, when we're doing school choice, when we're doing election integrity, when we're taking on big tech, when we're doing the strongest anti-rioting and pro-law enforcement bill in the country, which we did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
When we're doing all that, we are standing strong for the vast majority of Floridians, and I think also Americans, and actually people throughout the world. I get letters to my office from people who are chafing under lockdowns in Ireland and all these other countries, saying, you know what, keep it up, Governor, we're looking to Florida to lead us out of this mess. And so we've shown, not just with COVID, but with all these things, we're willing to lead, we're willing to take the left head on, and I don't give a what the media says.
Yeah.
I don't care if they like me, because you know what? I don't like them.
Yeah.
If you come down here, if you're part of the New York corporate media and you come down here and you try to smear us, we're fighting back. And I think 60 Minutes found that out very quickly when they tried to pull the stunt that they did. So there's no substitute for standing strong, for being willing to take on these powerful forces, and understanding that you are absolutely going to face blowback from all these organs of the left throughout our society. But you know what? If it was easy, people would have done this a long time ago. So yes, find folks that we can work with who have the right values and the right philosophy and will stand for the right issues. But I think there's the missing ingredient we see with too many of the elected people, at least in my party, is, you know, when the lights get really hot, when the pressure really comes on you, are you going to stand strong or are you going to fold? And there's a lot of people who will say the right things when it's convenient, but man, when that pressure gets on there, they don't want to get attacked. They don't want to get smeared. I can tell you, in Florida, it's my job to be able to stand up for these folks. It's my job to be able to stand up for what's right. It's been an honor to do it. But I can tell you this, here in Florida, we're going to continue to lead. We will absolutely stand strong. We will hold the line. And I have only begun to fight. Thank you all.
Yeah.